Welcome to World Insight. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In 2025, global trade is in turmoil, driven by President Donald Trump's renewed embrace of tariffs. Tariffs, taxes on imports, are now the administration's main tool to protect U.S. industries and pressure other nations. This marks a sharp break from decades of free trade, as Trump's America First approach challenges old alliances and agreements. The latest wave of tariff threats has rattled markets and forced countries to rethink their economic strategies. Trump's strategy is simple: use tariffs as leverage, creating economic pain to extract concessions. But this unpredictability is chilling investment and pushing nations to seek new alliances. As U.S. trade actions escalate, countries are banding together, potentially reshaping global power for years to come. The summer of 2025 marked a dramatic turning point in global trade relations. President Trump announced a sweeping new policy, a 10% tariff on any nation that chose to align itself with the BRICS bloc. This bold move sent shockwaves through international markets, escalating tensions and uncertainty worldwide. Allies and rivals alike scrambled to assess the impact, as the world watched to see who would stand with the U.S. and who would risk economic retaliation. In a matter of weeks, the administration doubled down, targeting not just China and South Korea but, most surprisingly, Japan, a nation long considered a cornerstone of American alliances in Asia. A sweeping 25% tariff on all imports from these countries was set to take effect on August 1st, threatening to disrupt established supply chains and upend global commerce. For Japan, the shock was profound. Decades of close partnership and mutual trust with the U.S. were suddenly called into question. Japanese leaders, caught off guard, now faced the reality of being treated as economic adversaries rather than trusted allies. The White House demanded sweeping new trade agreements, putting immense pressure on Tokyo. Japan was forced into a difficult position: either concede to U.S. demands and risk domestic backlash, or stand firm and face the threat of severe economic pain. Meanwhile, the BRICS bloc, now expanded to include Egypt, Ethiopia, and the UAE, found itself under intense U.S. scrutiny. Brazil, in particular, was hit with a staggering 50% tariff on its exports to America, a move designed to cripple its economy and send a message to other BRICS members. The U.S. justified these actions by accusing BRICS of trying to undermine the dollar's dominance in global finance. Washington viewed the bloc's push for alternative currencies and financial systems as a direct threat to American economic leadership. But this aggressive, uneven approach has had unintended consequences. Instead of isolating its rivals, the U.S. has driven Japan and the BRICS nations closer together, forging a sense of shared purpose and opposition. The 25% tariff threat has become a rallying point, prompting these countries to coordinate their responses, share strategies, and explore new avenues for cooperation. Protests and diplomatic meetings have become more frequent as leaders seek ways to counterbalance U.S. pressure. Rather than dividing its competitors, the U.S. has inadvertently sparked a new era of collaboration among them. Joint economic initiatives and strategic alliances are now being discussed at the highest levels. The result is a powerful, unexpected alliance forming in direct response to American pressure, one that could reshape the global balance of power for years to come. For over 70 years, Japan's alliance with the U.S. has been the bedrock of its security and prosperity. This partnership, forged in the aftermath of World War II, has shaped Japan's modern identity and underpinned its economic miracle. The U.S. security umbrella has allowed Japan to focus on growth, innovation, and global trade, while relying on American military protection. Now Trump's tariff threats have shaken that foundation, treating Japan as a competitor rather than a partner. The sudden shift in tone from Washington has left Japanese officials scrambling to respond, as decades of trust are called into question. The proposed 25% tariff would devastate Japanese exports: cars, electronics, machinery, threatening jobs and growth. These industries are the backbone of Japan's economy, supporting millions of workers and driving technological advancement. A trade war could ripple through every sector, from manufacturing to finance. Japanese leaders feel betrayed, forced to question America's reliability as an ally. The sense of shock is palpable in Tokyo, where officials are now weighing how to protect national interests in an increasingly unpredictable world. The uncertainty is already chilling investment and forcing companies to rethink supply chains. Japanese firms are delaying expansion plans, worried about the future of their largest overseas market. Some are even considering shifting production abroad to avoid tariffs. Japan faces a tough choice: negotiate with Washington or risk economic damage and political backlash at home. The government must balance the demands of its people, the interests of its industries, and the realities of global power politics. But simply giving in could set a dangerous precedent, signaling weakness and inviting further demands. Japanese policymakers are wary of appearing too submissive, knowing that their response will shape future relations. Quietly, Japan is exploring new partnerships to reduce its dependence on the US from Asia to Europe. Tokyo is seeking fresh trade deals and strengthening ties with other major economies. The pressure is pushing Tokyo to diversify its economic ties and rethink its global strategy. Japan's leaders are determined to ensure the country's future remains secure, no matter how the winds of international politics may shift. The alliance is being tested as never before, and Japan must navigate this new era with caution, resilience, and a clear vision for its place in the world. The BRICS alliance, now including Indonesia, Iran, and the UAE, has become a major force in global economics. Together, these nations represent a huge share of the world's population, GDP, and trade. Their push to trade in local currencies directly challenges US dollar dominance. For Japan, BRICS is both a competitor and a potential partner. As US access becomes uncertain, Japan sees opportunity in BRICS's vast markets. Deepening ties with BRICS could help Japan diversify and reduce its vulnerability to US policy shifts. Even limited engagement, through trade deals or infrastructure projects, would signal a major shift in global alliances. Trump's tariffs are forcing Japan to consider options once unthinkable. Facing steep US tariffs, Japan is quietly pivoting its foreign and economic policy. This isn't a break from the US, but a pragmatic search for alternatives. Japanese officials are deepening engagement with BRICS nations, seeking new trade and investment opportunities. Behind the scenes, Tokyo is in talks with India, Brazil, and even China about coordinated responses to US tariffs. Japan is also championing multilateralism, strengthening regional trade pacts, and exploring links with other blocs. The goal: diversify economic ties and reduce reliance on any single partner. The Trump shock has accelerated Japan's move toward a more balanced, resilient foreign policy. Japan is building autonomy to weather an unpredictable global landscape. In September 2025, BRICS leaders convene an emergency virtual summit to counter a new wave of US tariffs that threaten to disrupt global trade. The urgency is palpable, as leaders from Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa log in from their capitals, determined to present a united front in the face of mounting economic pressure. The agenda is clear: coordinate a unified response, rally support for multilateralism, and defend the principles of free trade. Behind closed doors, delegates debate strategies to protect their economies and send a strong message to Washington that unilateral actions will not go unchallenged. Recent US threats have pushed even India, once cautious and hesitant about taking sides, toward a stronger anti-US stance. Indian officials, now more vocal, argue that collective action is the only way to safeguard national interests and maintain global economic stability. Japan, though not a BRICS member, is closely watching the developments. Japanese diplomats are quietly aligning their strategy, recognizing that the outcome of this summit could reshape the balance of power in international trade negotiations. A unified BRICS response could give Japan valuable diplomatic cover, allowing it to negotiate with Washington from a position of greater strength. The possibility of new alliances is being discussed in hushed tones among negotiators. The summit is expected to produce a joint declaration against unilateral tariffs and outline concrete action plans. Leaders are determined to show the world that they can act decisively and collaboratively in the face of external threats. These measures may include developing BRICS payment systems, establishing mutual support funds, and fast-tracking internal trade deals to reduce dependence on the US dollar and Western financial institutions. The message is clear: major economies are building robust alternatives to US-led systems, signaling a shift toward a more multipolar world order. The center of global economic gravity is shifting, as nations increasingly refuse to accept US dictates and seek new partnerships to secure their futures. The world is witnessing the rise of new power blocs, and the decisions made at this summit could define the next era of international relations and economic cooperation. The trade upheavals of 2025 are reshaping global commerce and diplomacy. Trump's tariffs have accelerated the move away from a US-centric order, fueling the rise of new power blocs like BRICS. For Japan, the risks are real: economic pain and a weakened alliance with the US, But the crisis is also an opportunity. Japan is forging a more independent, diversified foreign policy. The future of trade will be more fragmented with competing blocs and shifting alliances. Japan must balance its US ties with new partnerships in Asia, Europe, and beyond. Its ability to adapt will determine its global role in the 21st century. Ironically, America First may be pushing the world to get along without America. Japan's choices now will shape not just its own future, but the direction of the global order.